For a long time, I have been a massive fan of Nintendo consoles. I've bought a lot of their consoles on launch and been a massive advocate for their games, but lately something's just been feeling really off. And I don't want to necessarily start this video off in a negative tone because I am a massive fan of Nintendo and a lot of the things that they publish. For those who aren't familiar with who I am, my name is Christopher and I am a Twitch streamer slash YouTube video maker, I guess, from Australia, and I am a massive nerd for video games as a whole, and I'm very passionate about video games as an art form. The first console that I ever owned was a Super Nintendo that was a hand-me-down from my aunt, and then throughout the years as I got a little bit older, I turned about 6 or 7, and I was gifted a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red and Silver for my birthday. To this day, Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games. I've collected all of the amiibos. I have every single Pokemon game that has been released, well, from the core franchise. So I really want to preface before I begin speaking, I am, as I've established, a massive fan of this franchise. Or corporation, rather. I should probably say corporation. I really wanted to make a video about how I've been feeling about Nintendo as a whole and my thoughts on the Switch 2 as well. I picked up my console like many others at the midnight launch at my local game store. And I've got to be completely honest. At first, I was reluctant to pick up the console on launch. I normally wait a little while before I pick up a launch console just because of bugs that might happen with the machine or some errors. Like, I was one of the victims of the first red ring of death when the Xbox 360 came out, and I remember saving so much money for my 360 console and my local game store not being really able to help me because they didn't really have many consoles to spare to even warranty switch. So generally, I wait before I pick up a new machine. But you know what? I thought I loved the Switch 1 so much, and I thoroughly enjoyed picking up Breath of the Wild on release. Sunk so many hours into it. I think within the first 2 weeks, I sunk nearly 50 hours into it because I was just glued to it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to pre-order the Switch 2. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to save for it and I'm going to pick it up. And I didn't really want to let the overwhelming negativity about the console necessarily sway me from getting it. I thought, you know what? I'll buy it. I'll suss it out. I'll see what it's like. I'll at least give it a go. And I really want to preface that when I picked up the Switch 1, at no point did I feel like this was too much money or this wasn't worth it. I picked up the Nintendo Switch 1, and I've talked about this in another video that I've made, because I've worked with somebody who had one and they showed it to me, and I was just like blown away by this console, being able to multiplayer on games in real time together and all of the functionality of it and Breath of the Wild. I thought, this is a no-brainer. I need to have this. And I'm really disappointed at the fact that this was not how I felt about the Switch 2. This wasn't... When I walked away from my purchase of it, walking out of that midnight launch, well, hold on. First, I'll go back. So I had paid everything off. I made it to the front of the queue and I went to pick up my console. I had pre-ordered all of the new Tears of the Kingdom amiibos, the Pro Controller, Mario Kart, and Donkey Kong, and the actual console itself. I grabbed a case and a shell case. I went all out. So I go to pay for everything, and as the person who's serving me is packing everything into the bag, I notice that there's no Donkey Kong. And I mentioned to the person that's serving me at the time, I say, oh, I just noticed that there's no Donkey Kong. I don't see it on my receipt or anything like that. And they were like, oh, that game doesn't come out until July. And I kind of just stood there and was like, oh, so it's just Mario Kart? And they were like, yeah, and there's a bunch of additional upgrades that you can buy for Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom. You can pay a little bit extra and you'll get faster upgrades that make the game a little bit better and a little bit more fun to play. And then I just thought to myself, dropping nearly $1,000 here to treat myself. And I'm walking out of this store. I mean, the person that served me was great and they were really nice. And I just kind of nodded and went, oh, okay, fair enough. Thank you. I'll see you later. And then I kind of I was just thinking over everything as I was walking out with my bag of stuff. And I was like, is this even really worth it? I own Mario Kart 8 already and I've played it to death. And I love Mario Kart. Everybody loves Mario Kart. It's a great game. But as I'm walking out the store's front door, I begin thinking to myself, is this worth it? And that is not a good thought to have when you've just dropped a large amount of money on something that you're passionate about and you're walking to your car in the cold thinking, was this worth it, or have I just made a massive mistake? And I do want to say, as a disclaimer, like after unboxing it and looking at it, the console is very well made. Everything is sleek, it's compact, it's got a better battery life, a bigger screen. The Joy-Cons snapping into place are fantastic. I mean, it's an inevitability that the Joy-Cons are probably going to drift. I started a timer on my phone to when that's going to happen, just in case, because of how I've been feeling about this whole thing already. And I mean, Nintendo have always made really great stuff. Like, I feel like that's never really been in question. Even people who felt a particular way about the Wii U, the Wii U was still well made. It didn't really have the games to support it, but I don't think that anybody unboxed the Wii U, grabbed it, and went, this is trash. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't have I feel like the Wii U was ahead of its time. The Wii U kind of walked so that the Nintendo Switch could run, and the Nintendo Switch was great. GameCube is great. Game Boy Color is great. Like, even those old consoles today, the technology still holds up. Like, the Nintendo 64 was made to last. These things are made to last. No one can question that Nintendo craft a good product. I think what comes into question now is, well, you know, it's not even necessarily a question. I feel like it's more of an observation. Nintendo are entering a realm of very anti-consumer friendly practices. And I genuinely think that this has tarnished this console's launch because, I mean, if you just think back to that memory that I shared about how I didn't have any buyer's remorse when it came to the Switch 1 because I thought to myself, I gotta have this. There is a lot of doubt about the Switch 2 floating around the gaming space and YouTube and X and everything. I feel like everybody is just a little bit like, this is incredibly overpriced. This game key situation that's happening isn't necessarily good. These terms and conditions are a little bit weird, and the games overall are just way too much money. But I think the biggest downside to this machine is that it really didn't innovate, and that is normally what Nintendo does. I feel like a lot of consoles that have come out from Nintendo and a lot of things that they've published have always left you with that thought that I had about the Nintendo Switch. Like, when I picked up a Game Boy Color, I remember my grandma being like, so you can just take this anywhere. And I was like, yeah. And she was just blown away by that, at all the little things that you could do and the animations in Pokemon and the different little graphics and everything and the character like bobbing along as they walked. Like, that level of awe and just essentially paving the way. I feel like they're very much a company who've like paved the way with a lot of games, and you can see that with the Nintendo Switch. I feel like now that the Nintendo Switch is out and established, you're seeing other companies come out with their take on a handheld. I mean, Sony has their handheld now. Xbox is producing one. The Steam Deck exists. Nintendo essentially, like I said earlier with the Wii U, Nintendo's walked so these other companies can kind of run with it, and like seeing that there's a market for people who want to play games and get a full game experience on the go. Because before the Nintendo Switch, it was kind of just looked at like handheld games didn't really have as much to offer as a stay-at-home console game. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the Uncharted game that came out on PS Vita wasn't essentially as good as Uncharted 2 or 3. It was kind of just like an in-between game. Whereas now, you're getting a full gaming experience that you can essentially take anywhere, which I think is great. Like, it's created all this innovation within the gaming industry that just, when it's affordably priced, we benefit from it. And I think that that's really good. But the Switch 2 just felt like that scene from The Simpsons when Lisa brings out her new take on a Malibu Stacy doll, and they just wheel out the new Malibu Stacy doll that's no different, but it's got a new hat. It's got a new hat. Like, that's what the Switch 2 feels like. It just feels like something that we've already experienced before, and Nintendo just wants our money again. It's going to be, I think it'll be very difficult for people to justify, and I'm seeing this with a lot of my friends, and feel free to let me know about this down below. My friends can't justify the cost when the console is essentially the same thing. You're just getting a bigger battery, a better screen, and then soon the games just won't come out on the original. That's what's going to make you want to upgrade, I guess. But the lack of innovation is pretty apparent. I had a bit of an icky feeling after I bought my machine. I can't explain it. I've been playing Zelda on it. I very reluctantly paid the $20 to get the upgrade, and I've been playing through Tears of the Kingdom, and it's been fantastic. It's been really good. I've tried to sink my teeth into this game so many times, but with everything else going on in my life, it's very difficult to just like stick to like a 300-hour game sometimes, especially when it can be a bit overwhelming how much there is to do. But I just haven't been able to shake the feeling that this console just didn't hit the mark, and Nintendo are kind of like relying on the fact that we'll just pay it. I want the games to be more affordable for us, and I just want more. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to sound too greedy, but I just want more for us in terms of like benefit and value as consumers. And I really don't want to seem like I'm ragging on this console. Ragging might be a bit of an Australian term, as in I don't want to seem like I'm bashing this console too much. If you bought it and you enjoy it, or you've got kids that enjoy it, or you bought it as a gift for someone and they are loving it, I love that. And that's great. I think what has just frustrated me is the cost and the money, just how expensive it has been. And Nintendo very much set the mark for a lot of stuff, and I just worry that Nintendo establishing these higher price points with games, other developers are going to follow suit because more people are going to think we'll just pay it. But yes, I would love to know your thoughts down below. If you picked up a Nintendo Switch, what your thoughts are about it, how you feel about the current prices and the release games that came out with the Switch 2. Feel free to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to start creating more videos like this. I hope you've enjoyed. I love this kind of discussion. I'm very passionate about it, as you can probably tell. But I really want to hear your stories down below, how you're feeling about it, what you even thought about the video. Like, if you disagree, totally fair. I'd love to chat about it. Let me know down below. Thank you, as always, for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.